Hi, welcome to the channel, Budget Order Review and Upgrades, and today I'll be reviewing this 2216 received by Marantz against their 1530 receiver, made about a year or two apart from each other. Even though this is a budget channel, this is maybe towards the, I'll say higher end of the budget. I kind of call budget 60 to £120 for an amp, something like that. That's low end budget, 60 to 120 for a receiver, so I call that like budget, low end budget. So these are a little bit moving up the budget a little bit, because I don't think you'll be picking up either of these for about 120 quid. I don't think you won't pay fast amount more, but I think these are probably 200 to 250 pound each if you're looking on eBay these days. Maybe lucky to get one bid up a little bit cheaper, obviously depending on condition, etc., and any work or anything that's been done to it. Okay, just a very quick story on Marantz, nothing spectacular. I'm just going to really, kind of like skin the ice, so to speak. Is that a phrase? I don't know, but anyway, Marantz started in 1953. Saul Marantz, I think his name was, and most people, he kind of sold it in 1964 to Superscope. So a lot of people, purists here, audiophiles, etc., and obviously going to pay top money for this. Nothing's going to be cheap, so it's not for us really. They would call that the golden age of Marantz. That would be its actual golden age. Then some people would say the second golden age would be between 1964, when he sent it to Superscope, until when Philips bought it in 1980. And there's some still nice stuff out, and a lot of stuff out at that particular time. This is when it became more mass market. More people got involved buying it, and they obviously try to keep the price at a reasonable level so everyone could get involved. And people say they cut back a little bit, but I don't think they really cut back there. I think they probably cut back after Philips kind of got involved, and this would be pretty much in line with any company. I think at the time, things like you would buy a washing machine years ago and that would last forever and stuff like that. And obviously, the more mass market is, the cheaper they made it, and obviously they want it to go wrong, so you go and buy another one. So I think you're still going to get a nice item here for the price. You can get some quality stuff here for the price. Would put a few people off maybe is that maybe need a little bit of maintenance in time. Mainly capacitors, I would have said, that could go. These bulbs are easy, plenty of videos. I've got a couple of videos, and there's one chap on there which I should have done actually, which actually shows you all 4 different bulbs, how they would look if you changed either of the 4, like for a blue one, a white incandescent, a white LED, or a green one I think he's got as well. So that's worth a watch if you're thinking about changing any of these bulbs. Kind of give you an idea of what bulb to get for your unit. Though I would, my personal recommendation is still these incandescent ones. Even though over time it can make the display look a bit more greeny blue than blue, but I still prefer it as it was. That's my personal take. Everyone's got a different opinion on that. Okay, so what would you have paid for these back then? I always find it interesting. I do like looking it up if I can find. I can't always find out the information, but how much would these cost you back in the day? And obviously, you're going to compare it for how much you would have earned in days as well. Obviously, you would have earned what you're earning today. And looking on the internet, this 2216 come out 76, 77, somewhere around there, and it would have cost you about $240 in America, and doing a very quick exchange rate, which is about 1.45 at the time, something like that, to UK pounds, maybe a bit of import duty, stuff like that, I don't know, but you would have paid about 200 quid in the UK for this, I would have thought, in 1977. The bottom one here come out 78 to 80, just before Philips really took over. And for this bottom unit, this went for about $340, so it's more expensive, but don't forget this is more wattage. This is a 30 watt channel, and this is only 16. Shame I haven't got a 26 or 30 here to do a proper comparison, but I'm going to give you a good idea, I think. And obviously, I suppose they would have went for about the same money in comparison if it was a 2216. Yeah, so that would have been about £260, something like that in the UK, something like that. See one, that's all right, make sure it's on there. Okay. Build quality of these are both nice. They're both build quality nice. Just going to go a little bit into the build. I mean, these people say the cutbacks in Marantz, over the years they cut back. And there's a few little cutbacks you can probably take out of here in a space of a year or two. But it's just saved, just penny pinched a few pennies to keep it, with inflation, etc., a reasonable price that people can get involved and, not exaggerate the price so much. First thing you will notice straight away, I think, here is these 4 nuts on this top one. Is missing from the bottom one, which is just a nice little touch. It holds his faceplate on. Well, his bottom faceplate is still held on, obviously, But yeah, these they do a job. They're not just for a show. They actually hold this faceplate on. Second one. Now this bottom one's got 2 metres, so we're going to pretend this one's got 2 metres. If it was a 226, more comparable to this bottom one, or 230 or something like that. So they haven't took a metre away. They haven't added a metre here. Let's put it that way. They haven't added a metre. There still would be 2 metres on this one if it was the very similar model, which it isn't. So that hasn't changed. But what has changed next to the metre is the stereo light here. On here, it's actually like etched into the back plate. All the numbers are. Nice red there, nicely done, just a nice little touch, stereo lit up. Well, on the bottom one, you may not be able to see it, but you have to take my word for it, Rainy. Its stereo is actually just printed on the fascia, and it's just a little LED that lights up. So that's just another little touch that's disappeared there. Another main touch here, most people associate with it at Marantz, is this gyroscope tuning, which has been replaced with just a silver knob, a rotary tune at the bottom. Still got the weight behind it. It doesn't quite feel so nice as this. This is nice. It's got a kind of grip to it here, embedded into it. It just feels nice. It's got more of a flow to it. And a lot of people like that. So that's quite a big difference there. Just cut it back a little bit again now. And another little cut back here is the little light on the end of the dial there. It's a little light. Basically, it's a lamp on the top, and it shines through the plastic and just hits a little bit of it, and then lights up red there. On here, just a silver kind of like pointer, no light on it, nothing like that. So just a few little differences there. The main differences there that you're going to find between the two, and this is what people would call maybe the cutbacks on the outer, and people say there's cutbacks on the inner. You know what I mean? They're using different bolts, different components and stuff like that. But when we look inside both of these, Marantz used, we're going to look at the tuner first. I'm not going to show you it, I'm just going to tell you about it, but some other videos on tuners and etc. Marantz, you will see a picture of these boards. Marantz used a P100 board, and this was used in quite a lot of their low end to mid, I would have said, receivers. It's a P100 board, but there could be 2 versions of this board. Well, actually there could be 3. We won't do the first one. We're going to concentrate on these ones that come around this kind of time. The P100 board will consist, there's 2 versions. One's got 3 ICs on it, and one's just got the 1 IC on it. And in this particular case, I found out that without an aerial, I could not pick up anything on here from where I am. Without an aerial on this particular board, I could pick up something. It was obviously hissy and noisy, so it just gives you the impression that maybe this bottom one's a little bit more sensitive than the top one. So yeah, the top one's got the 3 IC board, the P100 board with the 3 ICs on it, where the bottom one's got the P100 board with 1 IC on it, and it just seems to be a little bit more on the sensitive side. But once you've connected the aerial and everything else, they was exactly the same. They sounded pretty much, well, it did sound exactly the same to me, there's no difference really in them. They pretty much sounded identical, just a very slight difference, but hardly anything, so we won't worry about that. I've done a little review. I compared Marantz 3 this against 2 other tuners as well. That may go into it a little bit more, safe saying it on here, but yeah, basically the same, the tuner. Another board in here that you're going to find common in Marantz is called a P400 board, and this is a phono stage board. This is for like playing your vinyls. This is the little preamp that they use in there on the phono stage, and there's a couple of these boards about as well, even though they're called a P400. You're going to find one with 2 ICs on it, which is in both of these, so they've got identical boards. But we'll come to that in a minute. And there's one with 3 transistors per channel, so 6 transistors. There's another P400 board. So these boards in these two are exactly the same. They're the P400 board with an IC per channel, so 2 ICs. The only difference is in one of them the board is separate, I think. Yes, one of them is separate, and one of them is actually on the actual main amp board, but this is still using the same P400 board. One's actually on the amplifier board itself, so it's all in one complete board with the little phono preamp there, and goes straight into the amplifier, and that's on this 1530. With this 2216, like I say, it's exactly the same board, but it's separate. It's a separate little board, but exactly the same chips, all the same components, and as you would expect, they sound exactly the same in comparison to how the actual unit sounds. It didn't make any difference to the actual overall sound of the unit. This is quite a nice little phono stage as well, sounding quite nice, I think. And it's also in the in one of my Super Scopes 1220 receiver I've got as well. Marantz, owned by Super Scope, then used the same board there as well. You will find that in a few Super Scope stuff. So this is, quite well use, quite a lot of receivers board they would use, which makes sense. I don't want to keep making different boards for all different items. Obviously, as the range goes up, you're going to, slightly design that better as the range goes up. But for overall, for the low budget range, they had the same board. Right, so yeah, let's get to this sound now. Let's get to how these sounded. Like most of my stuff, I tested with a few different speakers. Now I've been using a speaker switch box for a while as well now, which I've stuck a video up there. How you can use it, to put 4 sets of speakers, so to speak, on one amplifier, or you could link up, if you wanted to, up to 4 amplifiers on one set of speakers, so you could flick through each one and listen to how each one sounds, near enough instantaneously. Just got a little bit careful how you do it, but it can be done. Video up there to show you how to do that if you so wish, and that's what I do with these, to give me an enough instant comparison how they sounded, which is nice. You can kind of pair one straight against the other without playing a CD, undoing it all, swapping the speakers over and doing all that, plugging another amplifier. By the time you've done all that and you get the position again where you were, you can kind of lose how it sounded a little bit. So it does help, I think, especially for me anyway. Some other people with unbelievably good hearing, maybe it ain't going to affect them so much, I don't know, but for me I think it does help. Gives me more of a comparison, I think. When you first turn these on, I did do a comparison of this 1530 with the 215, which is basically a 1515, and when you first turn them two on, it's hardly any difference at all really. It just takes a little while and you start hearing the differences. With these here, it was a bit of a difference straight away. When you turned them on, you did notice this 1530 sounded a little bit more mid-range to lower end treble. That was a bit more prominent in this bottom one. Didn't really like, how can I put it, didn't make the sound any worse, and I think just had that little bit of a difference to it, that's all. To try and to get them level and to try and give you an idea how different that was, it's nothing vast, but you could hear it, is that basically on this top one, on this 2216, all I did to try and level that kind of like sound off, that balance off, is I just a little bit of experiment, but in the end all I had to do really to kind of nearly get it level, it weren't exactly the same, but to get it nearer, was turn the treble up just 2 notches on there, and that kind of bring them in line with each other on that particular sound front wise. The bass on both of these are nice, you know what I mean, the bass is nice, it's quite detailed bass, it's quite a clear bass, it weren't too mud or anything like that, it sounded quite nice, I think, the bass. I think it sounded just a little bit, a little bit more defined on this 2216, sounded a little bit more richer, that bass, sounded a little bit nicer. No vast difference, but it was there just a little bit. Like I say, I haven't really got the mid-range here. We've got a mid-range control here, which obviously I can spin about and whatever. But as for the mids, the women's vocals and I found with the 1515 or 215 I reviewed earlier, just had that little bit of sibilance where you've got the S's, where people you can kind of hear that a little bit more on the 15 than you could with the 30. Still there on the 30, and it was still there with the 16. There wasn't a vast amount of difference, but they both kind of got that. I think it was just a tad better, and it was really a tad better on the 16. It had a little bit more richer sound to it. I think maybe helped or something like that. It just helped that a little bit. Male vocals was listening to Simply Red. That sounded nice on both of these. That sibilance has kind of gone there, so to speak. A bit. It weren't so much. It's more with the female voice really. So the vocals sounded nice on both of them. I found that it just sounded a bit more focused on this 2216. The overall sound and the vocals sounded a little bit more focused on the 2216 than it did on this 1530. No vast difference in the treble. It sounded pretty much the same, to be honest with you. It sounded, both sounded nice. The treble sounded just a tad more detail. Man, it really is a tad, but it's pretty much the same. I found with these Marantzes here, their kind of sound stage, their kind of sound signature, shall I say. They do it. They kind of, I think they just kind of emphasise, give it a little bit more metallic sound. Maybe some of their stuff, just a little bit more of a metallic sound. And it's a kind of sound that I've kind of said before, and a lot of people say it's when they buy a CD or, when they've got a CD collection and they buy one of these, or record collection, they put one on and they kind of hear something that you haven't heard before. Stereo Review X went into this as well. If you go to his channel, talking about this kind of sound where you can hear stuff that you never heard before. And it's definitely true. I'll try to explain it my way. Is that if you had a 20-piece orchestra, and you listen to it, say on a Sansu or another amplifier or whatever, you'll get this amplifier receiver or whatever from Marantz, and you'll hear another instrument. It sounds like another instrument's been involved, or I mean, obviously it hasn't. It's like an extra member. You've got 20 people in the band. You buy Marantz, you've got 21 people in the band, and one of them's playing a triangle or something you've never heard before, or another instrument, so to speak. More in the mid to treble range, I would say, and that's what it is. Obviously that instrument was there before. It's just a bit. It's been pushed forward. You know, it's just been, I say pushed forward. It's been brought up more. You know, more volume to that instrument, so to speak. So it's more apparent in the arrangement. You will find that, I think, with Marantz. Yeah. Other than that, like I say, they're pretty much the same. The only noticeable difference really was the mid to treble, and the bottom one was a little bit more, like I say, prominent than it was on this 2216. And overall, they're both, you know, I've got a little bit of a preference, I think, to the 2216. You know, if I was to keep one of them, and you know, if you was to go on eBay today and buy one of these are about £200 to £250 each, either one of them. So the choice is yours on them, really. And I could highly recommend both of these. They both sounded nice. I don't think you're going to be disappointed with either one of these. They're nicely built, and it's a kind of investment as well. You've got something there that's not going to. I can't see it depreciating in value. I don't think any vintage hi-fi is probably going to depreciate in value that much. But these seem to be going on the up and up at the moment. So you know, something nice to hold on to as well. Yes, I pretty much think that covers it. I'm trying to keep it as short as possible. I don't want to bore you to tears, so to speak. Okay, I will come back with a video. I've got an item up at the moment. Sorry to prolong it a bit too much. I've got an item up on eBay, a Sansu 221 amplifier, and it kind of got caught up in a bidding war. So I'm going to put a video up saying, you know, don't get caught out in these bidding wars, so to speak. So and a few other bits and pieces where I've had a bit of aggro with eBay. So I'll try and combine that all into one video. So be about buying vintage hi-fi and second-hand hi-fi video, but pretty much anything really. You buy second-hand on eBay, don't get caught up in that bidding war. Lucky enough, both of them people have pulled out, and I think, I'm not too sure if one of them started again, but I think they're both pulled out. I'll check it all out later, and I'll stick a video up when it all gets sorted out. Okay, to the next video, I'll say thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.